One of the most aptly named plants on the planet. The reason? Well, for starters, it's virtually disease-free. And by that I mean no black spot, no rust, and no mildew, diseases that commonly plague a number of other roses. It also adapts more readily to less than ideal soils. Its foliage is stunning, it never needs pruning, and as if all that weren't enough, it flowers for months, literally from early spring to fall. And that's why it's called a knockout. It's also why, although I'm not ordinarily a huge fan of roses, I've planted 5 of these beauties in this bed, and why I'm now adding 1 more. This is the entrance to the bed in which I just planted the roses, and it's missing something. Namely, a plant on either side of the point where the path meets the entrance to the bed. And the simple solution comes in the form of a pair of ornamental grasses. In this case, a variety of miscanthus or maiden grass known as morning light, which is among my favorites and is hardy to zone 4. Morning light doesn't get near as tall as most other varieties of miscanthus, maturing at, about 3 feet or so. So these 2 plants will soften the entrance to this bed without overpowering it. Oh, and by the way, morning light looks great in the afternoon too. Next up, a mess of weeds mixed in with mulch. Although mulch generally does a great job of preventing weeds from sprouting, it can actually backfire on you if you apply the mulch directly on top of newly fallen seeds, or if any number of different weed seeds happen to drop into the mulch and work their way into it. But thankfully, the newly sprouted weeds and seedlings are easy to remove by dragging a steel garden rake through the mulch. And in the process, you wind up fluffing the mulch, which brings back its color and allows water to percolate more easily into the soil. How about that? A non-chemical solution to a serious weed control problem. And I'll bet I burned more than a few hundred calories along the way. By the time I'm done, I'll be down 3 pounds. One of the most challenging and often irritating situations in gardening is where you have several identical plants growing in a row such as this, and one of them starts looking puny for no apparent reason. I mean, look, these 2 azaleas are doing great. And although this one flowered nicely, its foliage is turning yellow, a bad sign for an evergreen that should be green. And since this location is otherwise ideal, 2 hours of morning sun followed by complete shade, my guess is the problem is related to soil pH. You see, azaleas require acidic soil, yet these guys are growing in a bed that's got a brick wall behind and a limestone border in the front. And both the limestone and the brick will slowly leach alkaline chemicals into the soil, thereby raising the pH. But thankfully, a sprinkling of soil sulfur will slowly lower the pH to its ideal level. And while I'm at it, I'll also add some alfalfa meal, an all-natural fertilizer that's great for azaleas. Oh, and by the way, both fertilizing and acidifying the soil, as well as any pruning that might be necessary, are best done right after the azaleas bloom. Close enough. Ever seen these sticks for sale at farmers markets, flea markets, or even kiosks at the mall? These are plumeria cuttings, and they're becoming hugely popular all over the country. Also known as frangipani, plumerias are native to the West Indies, and they produce the gorgeous flowers that are used to make leis in Hawaii. When selecting cuttings, make sure they're firm from top to bottom, and that the cut portion is calloused over. You might also want to search for sticks that have begun to branch, if only because they're more interesting. However, keep in mind that as they mature, they'll begin to branch naturally, usually within a year or 2 or 3. Fill a pot with sterile potting mix, sand, vermiculite, or any combination of all 3. Stick the stick into the pot about 3 inches deep. Place the pot in a spot that gets at least a half day of sun, water well, and wait. Within about 4 weeks, leaves should begin to emerge from the tips of the cuttings, a sure sign that roots have begun to form. Another way to confirm root formation is to gently tug on the stick. If there's resistance, there are roots. Although they don't grow all that fast, plumerias are nevertheless easy to grow. By way of example, this is a fresh cutting, whereas this one is 3 years old, and this one, it's been around for at least a decade. Now keep in mind that plumerias are tropical plants, and they can't handle temperatures below roughly 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So many of you will have to overwinter them, whether in an unheated garage or in the house. But they're a plant that's great to grow, a lot of fun to grow, and for my money, any plant that reminds me of a day in Hawaii is worth growing. Is your landscape feeling a bit parched? Up next, tips on how to quench its thirst. And later, are watering woes making you lose your noodle? We'll show you sprinklers that can help.
This program brought to you by ACE, the helpful place.
Adding a hardy evergreen to your landscape? Well then, let me introduce you to my good friend holly. Holly's been a favorite winter decoration for at least 2,000 years. But if you think it's just good for decking the halls, think again. Here at the Van Dusen Botanical Gardens in Vancouver, British Columbia, every day is a holly day.
My favorite thing about holly is that they're really easy shrubs to grow. And the other really nice thing about hollies is that they grow almost anywhere.
Anywhere is right. Deciduous varieties are hardy to 30 degrees below zero, while most evergreen varieties can thrive in 15 below. And although hollies prefer well-drained acidic soil, they'll adapt well in even less than ideal conditions. Holly belongs to the Ilex genus, and it's a rather large family. In fact, there are approximately 20 American holly species, 120 Asian species, and nearly 200 varieties of English holly.
People love hollies because of the berries.
Yes, it's usually the holly berry that steals the show. Whether it's the cherry red berries on the English variety or these outrageous orange berries on the American holly. But when it comes to this variegated English holly called Golden Queen, it's the golden green foliage that's the main attraction.
And it's a plant that actually doesn't get too big. This one here is about 35, 40 years old, and you can see it's only about 12 or 15 feet high.
And check out this spiny, variegated porcupine holly. If you take a closer look, you'll see it was named for the prickles on its surface as well as on the edge. While most hollies are evergreen, hardy to zone 4, this stunning deciduous variety is even cooler.
It's native to the eastern United States, and as a result of that, it's actually hardy down to -30 Fahrenheit. And the berries show off really well against the deciduous stems.
This common winter berry called afterglow can add a beautiful burst of color to any winter garden.
Hollies can either be male shrubs or female shrubs. If you want a lot of berries on your shrub, it's important to know for one thing that you have a female.
While male varieties like this little rascal won't produce berries, you will need one somewhere in your neighborhood to pollinate your female holly. By now, you're probably ready to add holly to your landscape, or maybe you already have one and you want more. Well, here's how to go forth and multiply.
The 3 ways that hollies are normally propagated are seed, and by doing cuttings, and grafting. Grafting is a difficult, more experienced procedure, but doing propagation with using seeds or cuttings is easy and fun.
So if you feel the need to seed, here's how.
What you have to do is collect the berries, and you have to break the skin off, and you'll see that there's this pulpy, slimy material underneath the skin. That actually has chemicals in it which inhibit germination. Normally, the seed would drop and then sit in the ground over winter. And the winter rains and the cold temperatures activate enzymes that break down the chemicals that inhibit germination.
But rinsing the seed in cold water mimics that process and offers the same results. Next, Egan uses weather-resistant cedar flats, which he fills over halfway with a soilless potting mix.
Once I've got my seed and my media, it's quite simple, really. Just lay them on top of that half-covered surface.
Once Egan sows his seeds, he covers the area with another layer of medium that's about 1 inch thick.
And you level it off. And it's important to make sure that it's flat so you don't have low parts like this where water will collect in the rain. It's winter now, and it's possible that you might get some germination by this spring. If not, let them sit through another winter, and chances are in the spring you'll get germination of these things.
Egan will leave the flat outdoors where the seeds will be exposed to the elements. With this method, there's no guarantee the seedlings will be the same variety as the parent plant. So, if there is a particular characteristic you want in your plant, say a variegated leaf, don't fuss with seeds. Cut to the chase.
Another easy way to propagate hollies is by doing cuttings. If I wanted to make sure that I got the plant with this nice yellow berry, then I would have to take cuttings to make sure that I get a clone of this plant.
To start the process, pick a strong, healthy shoot.
This shoot has a lot of vigor. It's thick, it's robust, it's got good quality.
Take a look at this standard English holly in comparison.
It only grew 1 inch, and you can see the thickness of the stem is nowhere near the thickness of that other vigorous shoot. The type of cutting you're going to make is called a tip cut. Tip cuttings give you the best chance of success. You can see this year's new growth is kind of flexible, and the old growth is woody and not flexible. Somewhere in the middle is the best region to get a good quality cutting. There's a hormone located in the tip of the plant that actually helps stimulate roots where you've cut it.
The best time to take cuttings is in the summer to late fall. Egan makes the cut 1/4 inch below a leaf node. Next, Egan removes the leaves and dips the tip first into water and then into a rooting hormone. He fills another potting flat full of cuttings.
So now that we're done, I'm going to take these outside and put them in the cold frame, and that's where we're going to grow them on.
Hardy, easy to grow, beautiful foliage, and colorful berries. Well, I guess it's no mystery why so many are jolly for holly. Oh, and get this. Because of their bushy growth patterns, a number of hollies make excellent shrubs for hedges. Geez, seems like I can't say enough good things about that holly. Is one side of your yard getting more water than the other? Next, we'll show you how to even the score. Plus, how to get that sinking feeling outdoors.
Make life
Get a water source right near your garden is with a portable outdoor sink. There are lots of types. Just make sure you've got a surface to attach it to, and once you hook up your hose, you've got a fully functioning sink. Look for ones that have flexible wands. It makes it easy to water plants or wash your hands, and when you're done, the water drains right out the bottom. What do you do when you need a blast of water to wash out gritty dirt? Pressure washers are great, but gas-powered models like this have 2 drawbacks. They're heavy and they're noisy. But there are electric equivalents that are much easier on the back and the ears. Certainly all most homeowners need for routine tasks, such as cleaning paved surfaces, fences and decks, even windows. Oh yeah, I do windows. For safety's sake, some units include a built-in GFCI, or ground fault circuit interrupter, which protects against accidental shock. Oh, and by the way, you can click away to learn more about this and other great gardening gadgets on hgtv.com. And some power washers deliver a turbo spray or even have a detergent dispenser for jobs that require extra cleaning power. Like all the windows I've got to clean. Hey, I told you I did windows.